I think Monterrey, we are like Philadelphia fans. Philadelphia with their teams, we have two. So we are split in half by half in this spectacular. I think here in Monterrey is the city where the people live the spectacle, the game of soccer most passion for sure.
And
In all the
you guys wouldn't boo Santa Claus, would you? Like they did in Philadelphia, Oscar? It's not that bad, is it? This is MASL Monday. What's going on, everybody? Alex Vasyvansky back after what was an exciting weekend of MASL action. And joining me today is the man who's going to give us the Mexican perspective, which we really haven't had on the show all season so far. It is Oscar Sanchez, who is the MASL's Spanish content manager. And Oscar, welcome to the show, buddy. How are things?
Thank you, Alex. Glad to be with you again. And let's talk about Mexican teams in the MASL, right?
Let's do it. Making waves as usual. And we've got some big games to cover that the Mexican teams were involved with earlier in the week. Now, I should mention later on in the show also, producer Phil Levanco is going to jump on, and we're going to talk about some other games that went down. But Oscar and I are going to cover, as we mentioned, the Mexican teams and the Mexican games. The big one that that a lot of us were looking forward to was the Monterey and Milwaukee encounter on the weekend. And because Milwaukee was undefeated except for an overtime loss up to that point. And they hadn't really been tested against Western teams so far. So we were looking forward to this. And Oscar, what a game. 6-5 Monterey in the end. But what was your take on this contest?
It was a spectacular comeback for Monterrey. I really saw the first and the second quarter, and I thought it was going to be the history of the game very different as how it ends, right? The Mexican team, Monterrey, was working, keep working, no matter how was the score. And then it got the first and the second and the third, and they end winning this game. Was a spectacular comeback. I think Monterrey is gonna find their best shape at the end of the season. They are rebuilding the team, but they have these quality players that can make this kind of comebacks. It was a great win for Monterrey.
And we should point out Milwaukee is obviously going to be kicking themselves over this one. They were up 5-1 in the third quarter. So two sides of the coin. Number one, Milwaukee, man, oh man, you got to close those things out. But on the other hand, like you mentioned, the comeback by Monterrey really showing some solid stuff. And that fight is really going to come in handy as they get into the playoffs this year and face the big teams from the West.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know what happened to Milwaukee because they had made the main thing at the first part of the game. They have the score, they have the goals, they have the rival. It was like a little piece off, and then Monterrey came one and another, and they can't stop the Monterrey. So I think it's a very big win for Monterrey because they got a lot of confidence on their game. They had luck with Chihuahua 7-2, and then the last week, then they travel to Milwaukee. They got this kind of game. I think the confidence is over the top of again for the Mariano Boleda team.
And we will talk about that 7-2 game in a few minutes because I do want to touch on that.
Okay.
But Bocanegra with a game-winning goal. Mendoza, 1 goal, 2 assists. He was the first star of the game. Let's move to Chihuahua, who took on the Dallas Sidekicks on Friday night. Dallas's rough ride continues. I don't think anyone was expecting them to win this game, but the fashion in which they went down, 12-3 spanking at the hands of the Savage. What was your take on the game?
Yeah, I think Chihuahua showed the strength of their offense, right? They have a small home team, and they made great games over there. They use, or they know how to play in that the arena, right? The corner arena. But I think also I think that the Sidekicks are not the best team in the team. They suffer with a powerful team as Chihuahua, especially in the offense.
And okay, this is their second year in the MASL now, Chihuahua. Playing on that small home field, which they know the dimensions, they dominate on that field, similar to like a Baltimore, the way they play on their home field. Um, has it surprised you how dominant Chihuahua has managed to be in the short time that they have been in the MASL?
No, I think it's something I like that happened with Sonora. Remember Sonora Soles?
Soles, yep.
Yeah, they have a similar stage on their home field. So I think they used to play. They are many of the Sonora players now with Chihuahua, and they have a little past week here with Monterey. So they know how to play in that way. And obviously they play the half of the season there, and they know how to do it.
Let's move to the game last night in Monterey, 2 weeks in a row. The Flash and the Savage play. Before we get to the game last night, though, let's touch on the one from the week previous. The Monterey home opener, obviously a great event. The first home game in 3 years since COVID-19. Emotional. Heck, I got emotional watching it, seeing, with the national anthem at the beginning and all the Mexican players and the fans who were there and loving it. And then Chihuahua goes out and completely spoils the home opener by winning 7-2. It's not the fact that they won that game, but how they won it 7-2. I think that opened a lot of eyes around the league. And was that a surprising scoreline for you, Oscar?
Yeah, of course, it surprised me because I didn't expect that. I expect a very close game that, like the other two they had played now. I was expecting something like that, but it was surprising for me that kind of scoring. The score they got Chihuahua, they got a big win. Oh, we talk about the confidence again for Chihuahua. They lost their first game with Monterey at
In
home
overtime.
in
Great game.
overtime, and then
Yeah.
they came and they got this big win. I think it's very important for them.
So last night, Monterey comes out with something to prove. They don't want to get spanked again by Chihuahua. Much closer game, but similar to what Monterey did to Milwaukee earlier in the weekend. Chihuahua comes back from a 3-1 deficit and ends up winning 4-3 in overtime. First of all, hell of a game.
Yeah, it was a spectacular game. Yeah, right, right. A
Yeah.
good game, and those games get in love all the fans that go to the arena for the first time. You know what I mean. That they watch that and they say, "I want to come back again and again and again." But unfortunately, the home team lost. That's just the bad part of the thing. But I think this is gonna be happening here and in Chihuahua. They are going to be 1-1 and 1-1. They are too close, but Chihuahua has a big advantage that are playing together 1 year, from 1 year more than Monterrey. Monterrey is rebuilding the team. Now they have a lot of new players.
Yes.
So Mariano is working with that. Mariano is, I think, is the perfect shot to do that, to try to find players, show them how to play indoor, like they have and stars of soccer, right? Like Quick Mendoza, Juninho, Walter Ayoví, and Israel Jimenez for this season, but they are not used to play indoor soccer at the professional stage.
Former Liga MX stars.
Yeah, stars, right, for sure. Israel Jimenez won the gold medal on the Olympics on London, and they won 5 titles with Tigres with Juninho. Walter Ayoví, an international player for Ecuador in the World Cup and Copa America, and a lot of champions with Monterrey, with Rayado, the other team of our city. I'm from Monterrey, by the way. So they need to learn how to play indoor. It's not the same. It's a different sport and very hard sport. So they are learning. And on the other hand, they have a lot of players that know how to play indoor, but on the professional level of Mexico that is under MASL level, but they are on that they are working on that. I
Yeah.
think at the last part of the season we are going to see Monterrey as it is, right?
So they're building towards that right now. Just a reminder for everyone. First of all, with this show, please like, rate, subscribe, and comment down below. Let us know if you agree or disagree with what Oscar and I are saying. For all games, including, you've got to check out that Monterey Chihuahua overtime game, among many others. But that was one of the primo games from this past weekend. And always remember, you can do that on Twitch. Head to the MASL channel on Twitch for live games and all the archive as well of other games. Oscar, what does it mean to you and to other Mexican soccer fans to have the Battle of Mexico back again? Before it was Sonora, and now it's it's Chihuahua and Monterey. But what does it mean to have that rivalry alive and well once again?
Yeah, I think it's very important for both teams to have that kind of rivalry because the fans are going to see what's happening. I want to beat Monterrey. Monterrey want to beat Chihuahua. The former players of Chihuahua that were in Monterrey. I think that it's spectacular. It's great. It's amazing for those for both franchises, right? They need to have that to try to attract some new fans to their arena. And then in the spot, I think it's great to have who have to fight in the sport, each other because that make you grow up your level and be on the big stage, right?
Yeah. Now, we had a quick little chat before we got going with the show.
Uh-huh.
And Oscar, you brought up some Phil and I asked you the question, what are some of the differences between Chihuahua and Monterey, the soccer cultures, what in both towns? And I said, of course, because soccer is everything in both towns. And you corrected me. And you had a very interesting point about Chihuahua, which I did not realize. I don't think Phil realized it either. Sorry, Phil. But I don't think either of us realized it. I'm going to shut up now and let you explain. But
Right.
about Chihuahua and why it's a lot different than Monterey in that
Yeah.
respect. So please tell us about that.
Yeah, well, the difference between the cities and the soccer culture, right? In Monterrey, we have two soccer teams, Tigres and Rayados, Monterrey and Tigres. And when you live here and when you born, you have to pick one. Here, there are no fans of other teams. Here are Tigres or Rayados. Almost the half of the city is yellow and blue. The other one is white and blue. Rayados and Tigres.
Liverpool, Everton, Manchester United. You got to pick a side, right?
But it's almost the half of the city. It's strange because you go to New York City and the Yankees are the huge fans and the Mets are like this, right? Here is almost the half, and a great passion about their teams. I compare like in Seattle maybe the fans of Seattle, but imagine they are split and they are one for one and one for the other, right?
Mm-hmm.
And or like the Philadelphia fans. I think Monterrey, we are like Philadelphia fans. Philadelphia with their teams, but we have two. So we are split in half by half, and it's spectacular. I think here in Monterrey is the city where the people live the spectacle, the game of soccer most passion for sure.
Now, you guys wouldn't boo Santa Claus, would you? Like they did in Philadelphia, Oscar? It's not that bad, is it? You don't know about that? No. Sorry, man. Phil's going to be on soon. He knows what I'm talking about. Anyway, Santa Claus came to a stadium in Philadelphia. I think it was at the old Veterans Stadium, and he was going around, and the fans booed Santa Claus. So
we're not like that.
No, not that bad. Okay. You pulled up Philly. I had to make the comparison, man. But Okay, so Monterey, yeah,
That's Monterey, yeah. And
Monterey.
Chihuahua, I think, is more baseball city, more a baseball city. Now they are trying to have the indoor soccer. I think is a good choice, a good idea for the city, but they are more like baseball fans in Chihuahua. They had on the same state, but in Ciudad Juarez, that is the border with El Paso, Texas, they have an Liga MX team, the Bravos of Ciudad Juarez, right? But in Chihuahua, they are more than baseball fans.
Chihuahua fans, if you agree or disagree, comment on that. That's great. But that's really interesting, Oscar. Yeah. What were you going to say?
I'm not saying that they don't like soccer.
Yeah, of
Of
course.
course, in all the country we love soccer, but they are like more used to watch baseball games, of
And you
course.
mentioned there's no professional team in Chihuahua, also for outdoor, right? So, fascinating
There
stuff.
have been sometimes they have been, but they have some teams where they done 2 or 3 years and then they go
And
back,
then
right?
gone, yeah.
Yeah.
It's fascinating clash between two cities, though, and it's I mean the atmosphere in both places, especially Chihuahua for the opener, their home opener against the Monterey one in overtime, but it's just it's really tough to top that Mexican atmosphere between the two teams. You've got to take off, but before you go, I wanted to get your goal of the week. What was it for you?
My goal was Monterrey's Alvaro Bocanegra against Milwaukee. It was a spectacular goal, long distance. I think is a great. That's my pick.
That's the one where he was up against Ian and kind of went side to side and turned Ian around a little bit. Sorry, Ian. But yeah, it was Ian's done that to countless players over the years. So every once in a while it happens to you too. But it was just a masterful goal, no question about it. Oscar, thank you so much, man, for coming on, giving us your perspective on stuff. And we are definitely going to do this later on in the year. So thanks a ton, my friend. And we will chat later on then.
Thank you very much for having me. For sure, I'm going to be very, very pleased to be with you.
Okay. Take care, my friend. And through the magic of the editing wipe, I welcome now Phil Levanco, the host of MASL Under Review, and of course, the esteemed producer of this here show. Phil,
yeah, man,
how's it going? Big weekend. Good NFL weekend. I know you were watching.
Good NFL weekend. Good MASL weekend.
Yep.
Rangers lost to Montreal. Won't talk about that one. How do you feel about IPAs? No, maybe
my favorite kind of beer.
No,
in the summertime. But yeah, Guinness is my winter beer, but I love my IPAs. You're not an IPA guy. I know
no. I'm a porter. I am a stout. I like motor oil. Give me the darker the beer, the better. And then in the summer, this will really offend your Canadian blood. Bud Light Limes.
Is that a real beer? Or
it's barbecue, baby.
I remember my first beer too, Phil. So I mean, you know what? No, listen, you guys brew some good beers. But I tell you what, when you're in Vancouver next time, you're coming, you're visiting, all that good stuff, I will take you. There's some insanely good breweries, and my favorite IPA is made by a brewery in Squamish, actually, which is halfway up to Whistler.
Okay.
And it's unbelievable. Whistler balcony beers. Are we going to talk about soccer today? Or are we talking about beer? I'm going off. I'm going off on a tangent here, but
I think we've contractually obligated to talk.
We should talk about
arena soccer. So
let's do that. We had Oscar talking. Start? Let's start with how about San Diego and Kansas City, which, as you like to refer to, was for you a show me game.
I love the show me game.
Because you didn't really think that they were like as good as their record. And so you wanted to see what they would do against San Diego. They go down 7-3. What was your take on that?
My take on the San Diego game, San Diego kept rolling, right? I mean, the machine keeps on rolling. Undefeated in I don't know how many straight games is it now.
26 games in regulation.
Way too many. They're the strongest team in the league. They're the deepest team in the league. They're the gold standard of the MASL. 17,000 people watching on Twitch Sunday night, which was super impressive. My takeaway from that game is men versus boys. I mean, San Diego, it was a low scoring affair. It was, that's when you got all the eyeballs on you. You want to see goals. You want to see arena soccer at its finest. And here we are sitting at 0-0, and Craig and Nate are sitting there going, guys, chat, this is not how these games usually
like 2-0 at the half, I think.
It was very low scoring. But San Diego slow cooked them, right? Which is another favorite analogy of mine. San Diego likes to put teams in the slow cooker, and then 6 hours later they come out, you pull the bone right out.
It's like it's like the cat and the mouse, Just they let them run around a little bit, and they kind of grab them by the tail and pull them back a little bit. And that's kind of what San Diego's like, playing with its dinner.
So my favorite player on San Diego, Brandon Escoto, 2 goals, a little magician that they have there.
Part of 13 saves.
Fellow Queens boy.
Yeah, you got to get that in, man.
Got to get in. Let's go Mets.
Wonder if he's a Mets fan. We'll have to ask him.
I will certainly.
So the winning streak, we got to point out January 29th.
Yes.
Chihuahua in town.
Yes.
To take on at Pachanga. Pachanga, right?
I'm going to go Pachanga.
You say
I'm leaking confidence as I say it. But,
we're gonna have to listen to what Craig said. Craig Ellison says, because he obviously is in the know about that.
Sure.
But we get the point across. But the 29th game is going to be massive.
It's going to be a huge game. It's. I mean, I love these sort of clash of Titan teams, right? Because you have, the immovable object of the San Diego Sockers and the irresistible force of Chihuahua Savage. I mean, it was a great conversation we just had with Oscar about how that team, I love the point he made about all of these players from Sonora coming together in Chihuahua and kind of really humming along. I mean, you and I have been watching basically since the birth of the Savage, struggle a little bit and then get the machine moving. The machine
struggled a lot at the start last year, lost their first 7 or something along those lines, but then became a well-oiled machine.
And they hummed.
Hummed along. And I think we're going to see the same thing as Oscar said from Monterey, as they've all been tough losses they've had so far, except for the 7-2 game, which, as Oscar even alluded to, was a shocking
and the thing about Chihuahua, the thing about San Diego is they get goals from everywhere, right? And that's what makes these good teams really good teams. If Childs is not scoring, Escoto's got your goals. Felipe Gonzalez scores the goal. They get them from everywhere. And the same thing, Puente's not scoring for Chihuahua. They get it from, Edgar Gonzalez had the game winner this weekend. So anyway, it's a titanic matchup this week on the 29th.
It will be awesome. Let's talk about Dallas and Mesquite. And I want to talk about this one a lot more than we did about Dallas and Chihuahua, because that was just, they got smoked. But so Mesquite takes it 8-7. They've now won all 3 games they've played against them in the Dallas Derby so far this season. Let's point out, though, what Dallas managed to do in this game. And that was claw back from 4 goals down to tie this thing up and send it to overtime. So, if you're Dallas, you're looking for the positives this year as they are winless so far, but that was huge.
Yeah, you want to see something from, it's been a tough season from Dallas from start to finish, right? And the fact that they sort of, we'll say it, right, got up off of the mat after the Chihuahua, because that's travel too, right? Like that is, that's crossing borders.
No one Gamboa in Chihuahua as well. So,
coming back for a 2-game weekend and playing, their local rival with all of the stuff going on around those 2 teams and the drama there and the fight back, right? They've done it twice now. They've spotted Mesquite the lead and they're trying to come back, right? And this time, we said after the first time they ran out of time, right? This time they were able to force the game, to overtime, and then it's just been one unfortunate thing after the other. For this Dallas team.
And something that you were going to have to talk about under review, yourself and Ryan Sigich.
Yes.
The tripping call in overtime, Christian Quintana called for tripping. They did it first. They were going to let it go, and then they threw the challenge flag, and under the referees reviewed it, and their call was into the box. And so they scored the overtime winner. Mendez scores just 23 seconds after that. Dallas obviously not happy. You guys are going to be able to review that call. Two things I want to point out. Number one, obviously, I mean, Matt Thornton and Eddie not happy about that call. They were the home announcers, but they were pretty steadfast in their thoughts that should not have been a penalty. Second thing I want to say is kudos to the Dallas Sidekicks broadcast crew, who did a great job of showing everyone what they could about the trip. And it's still tough to see. It's still tough to see whether he even made contact with him or not. But you and Ryan will go over that on your show. So don't miss it, everyone.
As the good producer I am, I will say my comments will be saved for under review. Show. Check out on YouTube and Twitch.
Just the little tease. We had to get it in there, right?
I couldn't.
We had to get it there. No, you got to save it. Save the best. I understand. This is only MASL Monday. It's only, my show that I host, but you got to save the big one for your show.
Yes, that's how this works. Exactly.
I won't take.
I will not make apologies. It's that's what that show is dedicated for, is these controversial calls. But what I will say,
I was going to buy you an IPA, and now I'm not going. Actually, no.
Now
I will, because you dislike it so much.
You might as well buy me a cartridge.
Let's talk about St. Louis.
Yes.
In what you described, actually, when we were chatting before, as the perfect road game, taking down Utica 7-3. Utica, who just the week before was flying high, knocking off Mesquite for just their second loss all season, both in overtime, by the way. And then they come in, and the bed against the Ambush, who haven't had a fantastic season so far, but they go down 7-3.
No, it was a huge matchup. And the last time you and I talked, and I think Eric talked about it too, about how this game, it was a little bit of a fight for the playoff here. Give the winner of this game would be in pole position for that final playoff spot in the Eastern Conference. And it was a playoff atmosphere, low scoring, tight defense. Yeah. And when I say that St. Louis played the perfect away game, you and I, in our hockey blood, you stick tight to the defender. When the defense finally cracks, you need your goalie to come up big. And Brazilian Rob Lowe was excellent on Sunday.
Oh, the Brazilian Rob Lowe. Love it.
19 saves was really, really good. So tight, compact defense, and you punish the other team when they make a mistake. And Utica had some cracks on defense, as they have all year, and St. Louis made them pay. And it was they went early. Utica went to the 6-man early, so the score line got a little distant. And that sort of spread it out, but they had to go for it. Couple of goal line decisions in that one too, that I'm sure will be on under review. But Paulo was excellent. William Eske had a hat trick, but I want to say Sam Guernsey was my player of the game. That guy was everywhere. Craig Elston told us to not pay attention to blocks, so I didn't. But I will say he had a goal, he had an assist, and he was a man on a mission. He is a thorn in Utica's side.
3 points on the day for Sam. So great performance by him. Great performance by St. Louis, though, on the road in a very tough environment to play in against Utica on that blue turf. Let's quickly touch on Tacoma. We've got to give the Stars some love, man.
We should more than their place on the show. More than this place on the show.
4-1 so far. Now they take down, they sweep Harrisburg, who made the trip out west. 10-4 and 9-2, so neither game close. But Tacoma, there's not a huge sample size so far this year. Win against Empire, 2 against Harrisburg. They got smoked against Monterey when they played them. But I'm interested in seeing more of Tacoma, and I got to point out Nick Pereira once again. What is Nick now? 36, like a fine wine, just gets better and better, as he ages. And 13 points in 5 games so far this season. the leader of the Tacoma Stars.
Oh, the old captain leads the way, right? That's how it is in Tacoma. But also, too, they're getting scoring depth. I mean, Mike Ramos has got 8 points in 5 games. Juice Cox, 6 points in 4 games. Eddie Nas got 2 goals, 2 assists in 4 games. And Tyler John, who I think is the first time he's playing. It's the first time I remember his name. So they're getting offensive production from everywhere. Danny Waltman stole that game in Kansas City. But as you said, not a big sample size so far. And let's take a look at the schedule for Tacoma coming up
Chihuahua
for the rest of the month, right? Chihuahua, Monterey, 2 versus Empire, right? So,
well, you're going to get an answer. Like you said, you're from the Show Me State, even though you're from the Empire State.
Yeah.
But you want to see.
Not that Empire, though. Different
Empire. But you want to see against the top teams, and you're about to Chihuahua, the stiffest of challenges coming up next week. So that's going to be great to see. Let's quickly touch on, before we go here, your goal of the week, sir. What are you taking?
My goal of the week is Luis Morales shootout goal in Dallas. I mean, I love me some Juan Gamboa. You love yourself some Juan Gamboa. But, I mean, you want to talk about putting someone in the spin cycle? I love our shootouts, right? The old style run-up shootout. Yeah. And Morales, who I said in the chat that game is an MVP candidate. I stick by that.
He's right up there.
He's up there with the Titans
in the top
of the
5
league.
now. In the top 5 of scoring now as well. Yeah.
Pereira, you mentioned. Ian Bennett, who's just, what's the word I'm looking for here for Ian Bennett, who continued his streak of goals. I mean,
we had to. Sorry, it's 36 games now.
36 games.
36 for 2-6 for Mr. IB 26.
Yeah.
So Bennett, on fire. But that's a great goal. Poor one. Not much you could do on that one. But I'm going to take in the Monterey Milwaukee game, the pass off the glass from Luis Mendoza to Eric Rosas, the 5th goal in the game for Monterey that he just one-timed off the glass. Just gorgeous, cracker of a shot. And that was mine for the week. As usual, it's tough to choose. There's so much good stuff to choose from.
There's been so many goals.
Yep. And how about your favorite moments of the week, Phil? What are you taking?
My favorite moment of the week was Sunday night in the Twitch chat during San Diego, Kansas City. 17,000 people just sort of really, this is such a, it's what we say in the league, right? We want to grow the game. We want to expose people to the game. Every time you show somebody a major arena soccer game that has never watched a game, chances are they come back for a second one. So
it's addictive.
It's
absolutely addictive.
It's a wild, chaotic league, and it's amazing.
It is. I'm going to take for mine, I'm going to throw Dallas some love here because it's been such a tough season so far. My moment of the week, Dallas down 7-3 to their crosstown rivals in the Dallas Derby. They reel off 4 straight goals to tie it up 7-7 and send it to overtime. And the person who got the tying goal, Ahmed Zaki, scoring the tying goal for Dallas, his first career MASL goal, to send it into overtime. They ultimately went down. But Dallas, they're going to get it going at some point. Playoffs, they're not going to happen or anything. But right now they're playing for pride and trying to get things going. And to me, coming back from 4 goals to tie that up was a huge character thing for them, and hopefully kickstarts some good stuff for the sidekick. So that's my moment of the week.
Do you think you get to keep the ball when you score your first MASL goal?
It's a very good question. Yeah. Very good question.
Let's
answer that one next week. Ask Ryan, the official. If they,
I should ask Ryan.
Yeah, on your show. Save that for your show as well.
I figured out the word, too, I wanted to say about Ian Bennett. I'm going to give the Milwaukee Wave marketing team a freebie. You ready? Ian Bennett is inevitable.
Ooh. The inevitable force?
Yeah. He's just inevitable. Like, he's going to score a goal. He is inevitable.
I like that.
Yeah.
Inevitable. So he's the opposite of my second favorite team along with the Bills. He's not Mr. Irrelevant like Brock Purdy was, who, by the way, got to say, wow, what a quarterback. Mr. Irrelevant, of course, the person who's taken very last in any professional draft.
You, as a Bills fan, have a quarterback. Me, as a Jets fan, do not have a quarterback.
I know. I got one obviously real solid guy in Buffalo and one rookie who we're not quite sure what he's going to do, but he's been fantastic so far. Anyway, I digress.
Yeah,
the original point was he is Mr. Ian Bennett
is
Mr. Inevitable.
Yeah.
That's a good one, Phil. Got to trademark that.
It's a free one.
Ian's going to love that, by the way. So listen, man, that's it. Yeah. We're going to wrap it up. Don't forget to tune into Phil's show, of course, MASL Under Review, for all the juicy reviews and their thoughts on the trip in Dallas and many, many more things. Please like, rate, subscribe, comment on this channel. And don't forget, every MASL game all throughout the season, live and archived, Twitch, MASL. Check it out. Let's get those views up because, like Phil said, once you watch the game, you get addicted to MASL soccer. We are out of time. Phil, thank you so much for joining today. And
always love jumping in front of the camera and bothering you.
I'm going to force you to drink an IPA one day.
No.
And awesome having you on. And thank you, of course, to Oscar as well.
Yes.
Sanchez for joining us early in the show and giving us his perspective. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. We will see you next Monday.